And I'm so sad. I am, Sammy. Like it's rough to do this sometimes because you get to know people. And like I've met like Valus Jones Jr. and I've met some other guys, uh Tevin Jenkins, people like that, whatever. But I feel like my guy Tyler Scott, he was like a friend, like he was a friend of mine, and I really wanted the best for him, really rooted for him, like he was my family. And working, when he caught that touchdown in preseason, I remember reaching out to him, and I'm like, you know what, good, congratulations, man, that was so great. Him and Tyson Bagent seemed to have like such chemistry. I was very hopeful that he was going to make it through the process and everything, but unfortunately, it didn't work out for him. So, and it's one of those things that's the toughest part about this business or anything that you do, like, coworkers leave, somebody loses their gig or whatever. And, you've got to continue to move on and go forward. So for Tyler Scott, I will always be a fan of Tyler Scott, wherever he ends up. He's still got some football left to play. I hope he finds a really good opportunity somewhere. I thought of like immediately I started thinking of teams of like, you know what, he could go there. I could see him fitting in here or doing that. So I'm really excited to see what's going to happen to him. And sometimes, you know what? And this is something that I was telling him. It's like, listen, Wes Welker was drafted by the Chargers, released by the Dolphins, and then finds a home in New England and goes out and has a really nice NFL career. So you know what? This is just a small journey, and we wish him well, and we wish and all the guys that the Bears unfortunately had to let go of. But now it's time to look forward to the 2025 season. And to do that, Sammy, we need to start the show.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Adam Rank.
It's Hester trying to work it back to the middle. Gets past the first wave, and here he goes. It's Hester inside the 30. Hester's going to take it all the way for a touchdown. And no flag, 92 yards.
The sickest Chicago Bears and fantasy football podcast. Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
It's Wednesday night. You know what that means? It is time for Take It to the Rank. A great night of sports going on in the world. Not only do we have Take It to the Rank, AEW coming off a huge pay-per-view coming up tonight later on here, just about an hour. The Tape Never Lies Network will be rolling out here in about 90 minutes. We got another challenge. I'm falling behind on the challenge. I feel like I need to take, I think Labor Day. I don't think I have any shows on Labor Day. Right? Oh, no, that's not right. We're going to probably do a Fantasy Island because we're going to have a semi-regular co-host on that show too, which is a lot of fun. And by the way, if you have not been a part of the Isle, Fantasy Isle, you got to check it out. We've been having some really good shows. We had Joel Smith on, and it's one of those things. It's a live show that we do, and it also broadcasts on Twitter. So I hope you will come and check it out. But right now, to talk about the Chicago Bears and all the things that are happening with the team, we go to our co-host from CHGO. It's Greg Braggs. Greg, how are you living?
I'm living good. It's the last few practices that are open to the media. Today was last padded practice. Tomorrow starts a full slate of college football from Thursday to Sunday, or probably even Monday, right?
Yeah. And
so it is away we go. Football on TV basically every day until February. And it goes by quick. So you try to, really appreciate the beginning of it, because before you know it, it'll be the end.
It's hilarious because I was thinking about this, about training camp, and I'm like, good Lord, like training camp arrived and left so quickly. And I'm like, God, because I remember trying to make plans to go out there and be a part of the Bears training camp this season, and it didn't work out. Obviously, we'll blame my daughter and her soccer team because I took up a lot of the energy over the summer. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, man, that arrived and got out of here so quickly, and now we're already to cuts and everything like that. Were there any surprises to you when you look at this? And I know, like, it's personal to me for Tyler Scott to be let go, but were there any big shocking moves? I mean, I think even the most, you could kind of see the way these things were shaping up. Was there anything that stood out to you that was surprising?
I mean, obviously, Jade Walker kind of coming out of nowhere the last week. that last 2 preseason games. He had flashed a little bit at camp, albeit with some limited reps, on, third, second team at times, but then to have a touchdown 2 weeks in a row and kind of creep into the back of that roster there. We were joking, like every year you go in to, training camp and there's always that guy that steals the hearts of Bears fans. And a lot of times it is a wide receiver like
Right.
Rodney Adams or Dane Sanzenbacher or Tanner Gentry, and you've had so many others. And when they get cut, all the Bears fans kind of freak out. Like for me last year, it was Reddy Stewart, the cornerback that had the pick 6, who I thought was a real good ball hawk. You saw it at camp as well. And so this year, it didn't really feel like there was that guy until Jahdae Walker really made a name for himself. Not so much the second to last preseason game, but really the last one. He scores the game-winning touchdown, yes, but even prior to that, the toe tapper on the sidelines to lead them down the field to get the touchdown, that was eye-opening as well. And so that was probably the biggest surprise. I mean, outside of that, with how depleted this running back room is right now through injury, you've had Hankins go out with an injury in the game. You've had all these different guys. They've had to bring guys off the street, right? Royce Freeman and Britton Brown and all these guys. And Ian Wheeler, here's this guy who the last 2 years has really shined bright in the preseason games, had a game where he had 2 touchdowns, 80 yards, here in this preseason. So you thought because of the injuries that he was going to be able to still find his way on this team, because Roschon Johnson and Kyle Monungai, they haven't practiced for a while.
No,
it's been a week or two. So the fact that they didn't really add anyone, Britton Brown makes the practice squad, which I'm sure we'll get into the full list here in a minute. But like that's twofold. I'm surprised they didn't find someone. There's a lot of running backs that are available out there. I know some people were looking at the running back cut by the Broncos. The Eagles picked him up from Notre Dame. And you've had some. Cam Akers was cut.
Is that Audric Estime? Or are you talking about Audric Estime?
Yeah, got picked up by the Eagles, and I know some Bears fans were looking at
it. Did he really?
Yeah, the Eagles grabbed him. So that just kind of goes to show you, though, that the Bears didn't go out and make a move for a running back. Ian Wheeler doesn't get added to the practice squad. Britton Brown makes it. And so to me, that's like, it's surprising, but it also speaks to, well, maybe Kyle Monungai and Roschon Johnson are going to be ready for week 1, and that's encouraging.
Yeah, that's the way that I take it. And you know what? Because I do a lot of this from a fantasy perspective and doing it through the fantasy lens. And one of the things that I always say is that, if they're not bringing in somebody when there is an injury, that is a good sign, because it means like they think it's fine. Or if they're not bringing in competition, it means that they're sold on this person. And that's why when there's a lot of young wide receivers like Jahdae Walker who come in and they're given an opportunity to make the side, you're like, you know what? Like this is bad for our dudes, like, or my dude. And so it is one of those things. So for the running back position, and this is why because everybody accuses me of being a homer, and I understand that. But I sit here on the NFL Fantasy Live show and I'll talk about 75 players. And then I'll be like, oh, I like Kyle Monungai. Oh, what a homer you are. Like, I'm like, I am sitting here talking about Dylan Sampson. And everybody's like, okay, yeah, let me take that down. And then, but he said a bear. I'm out. But there's nobody competing with these guys. So I think that it means a lot to go out there and do it. By the way, I did notice Scottish Bear said that Tyler Scott has not found his way on a practice squad yet, which kind of surprises me, given the speed. But I do think, and one of the teams that I think of when I think of the LA Chargers, I'm like, really? Like the LA Chargers don't want to take a stab at Tyler Scott, at least see what's going on there. That's what selfishly I was kind of hoping or
make sure you let Tyler Scott know that he is not allowed to accept an offer from the Minnesota Vikings.
Not going. Well, they got Adam Thielen today, so they
still are hurting for wide receiver help. I mean, you got Jordan Addison out the first 3 weeks. Thielen is long in the tooth. How old is he now? 35, 36 years old.
I don't think he's quite that old. He's
old. He's old as dirt.
He is fine. He's a good vibe guy. That's a good move for them. I didn't appreciate that because that was a pretty good vibe for them. Washington needs one. San Francisco. I think San Francisco has two healthy wide receivers. I think it's a Sky Moore and Ricky Pearsall. Is Adam Thielen? Adam Thielen is really 35. Okay, I didn't think he was that old. He plays well in the beginning of the season. That's all they need. They need 4 games out of him.
Yeah.
He's good. You know what that means, though? That means it's Tet McMillan season. I know that everybody's looking at Jalen Coker and Xavier Leggett, but I think it because like Leggett will now kick in and play slot. But I think, but don't be shocked if they use Tet McMillan in the slot a little bit too, to kind of move him around and try to diversify his profile because they try to get those mismatches. I don't know, this isn't a Panthers podcast. Let's talk about some of the moves the Bears made. I think one of the biggest questions that we had. Let's go to some of the wide receivers. Actually, you know what? Poles was talking about the wide receivers the other day. Sammy, why don't we go ahead and lay that sound down and listen to GM Ryan Poles talk about the wide receivers.
Receiver room, but just the way Zacchaeus has played has been outstanding. Luther has taken huge steps, and like he's just starting. Jade, and that's what I say when I think of Jade and I think of Theo's, like where they walked into where they are today. I mean, the discussion was developmental, and then they kind of put themselves a little bit ahead of that curve. So that receiver group, which made letting Tyler Scott go today difficult, but we have to stay true to competition and true to talent, not where guys are drafted. So I'm proud of that, proud of our group and the development for him. He earned it. I would say linebacker is the other one. Noah Sewell has made huge strides to come in and compete for that starting Sam position. Got himself in shape, got right. Choppy start in his career, which shows you like some of these guys, it's going to take a few years. This pro game is no joke, and you got to get yourself right to compete. Hippolyte's been flying around and is pressed to be one of the top guys in that room too. So that's another one that was ahead of what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I kind of like that too. What are you saying there too with Olamide Zacchaeus and talking about, well, obviously they drafted Luther Burden, but Jade Walker coming in. You know what? Obviously people are ripping Ryan Poles for missing on Tyler Scott, being like, what a wasted draft pick it was. But to me, I think it makes a lot. I think it takes a lot of courage to come out and be like, yeah, you know what? He didn't develop the way that we wanted him to. And we have one player here who's playing better. We have one guy who we think is going to end up being better. I think it takes a lot of guts to be able to make moves like that. And I find that more encouraging than anything.
Yeah, it doesn't really necessarily speak to the lack of talent that Tyler Scott has. It is, he hopefully can find an opportunity elsewhere, but it is about rolling over this roster, turning it over. And when you bring in Rome Odunze and Luther Burden in back-to-back years, and now you're looking for guys to make an impact on special teams, and you see Jade Walker get the final tackle. After he gets the game-winning touchdown, he makes the final tackle as a gunner on special teams on the very next play. That's significant. And then even when you look at the practice squad, JP Richardson, is a guy that makes it to the practice squad, and those kind of guys, now they're going to get their opportunity to develop just as Tyler Scott did over the next few years, potentially. And just like Tyler Scott, they're limited opportunities, maybe even more limited than Tyler got because, obviously they were in a little bit more of a rebuild when Tyler first showed up, but, maybe a better opportunity because of the quality of talent that's around you, if you're one of these wide receivers on offense. But that's kind of the thing that, and I was talking with Shane, Marsaw about this, the thing that's so encouraging when you look at this wide receiver room going forward. Obviously they paid DJ Moore a lot of money, but if you just look at the young players here going forward with Rome Odunze, Luther Burden, Jade Walker, and hey, you never know with this JP Richardson. He was supposed to be that training camp hero. It didn't necessarily pan out the same way it did for Walker, but the guy can scoot. The guy has separation ability. The guy's got, a little burst to him, a little quick twitch. So it's going to be interesting to watch that room kind of shake out. And then hopefully, just from a returner standpoint, you hope Devin Duvernay is healthy, because I think returner is one of the bigger question marks on this team. And they brought in Devin Duvernay for a reason, but his health is right now of question.
Yeah, that is going to be one of the biggest issues moving forward. I would say the biggest and the most obvious is the left tackle position. And Ryan Poles also talked about that. He said he was very proud of the offensive line. Sammy, can we go ahead and take a listen to those comments from Ryan Poles?
In the old line, that's the part where I really proud of our whole group for putting that thing together. I'm proud of the guys for working the way that they have. And even Dan Rochar and Kyle Devan, the time they put in with those guys, you could see that. I even think that KC game was pretty good in terms of how they held up. The pocket was pretty strong. So we've seen that in the run game. Really throughout training camp, you can see hip-to-hip, 4 numbers, getting movement, and that's going to be something we have to be good at to have success on offense this year. And I felt like you could see that throughout training camp and in the preseason games.
Brian, you said you're proud of BLY, and would you prefer the left tackle to have made himself undeniable during this competition rather than have been sent in like the Pong Stars?
Yeah. I think that's really part of Ben's process, just talking next week. Because you're just not there.
That he was hoping somebody would take him.
For sure.
And have you.
For sure. And I think with part of that is you're dealing with some projections with Braxton coming back from injury. So you're like, all right, how close is he going to be to his normal self? You have some young players that are developing. You have a rookie moving over to different positions. So there's a lot of projection built into that. But I think as it came along, they all got better as we went. But we're going to have a lot of different options at really both left and right in our backup, swings, and really the versatility in that whole back end 5. Those guys can play multiple positions, which I think I don't know for sure, but we're up there in terms of how many different combinations we've rolled out there for the last 3 years. So you want to make sure you have insurance that guys can play and they can play multiple positions when you're, dressing 8 guys for a game. So we're shooting in pretty good shape.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I know that everybody's making a big, obvious for good reason, trying to figure out who the left tackle is going to be. However, I think the bigger issue is like we've done a pretty nice job of rebuilding this offensive line. The interior looks great. There's not a question at center like there has been every year. And Darnell Wright has been playing some pretty good football. What is your overall assessment of the offensive line?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's a little frustrating that we're still trying to figure out the left tackle spot. I mean, going into training camp, I had really high hopes that Ozzie Trapilla was going to take that job. And when we're talking about, predictions or analysis, I'll always kind of preface when it comes to Braxton Jones, and this is with all due respect, it's nothing against Braxton personally, but even before the injury, I just felt like he was a flawed left tackle. A guy that doesn't have a great anchor, lets guys get around him a little too much for my taste. And I was hoping that they were going to be able to draft the left tackle at 10. You had some really good options go before 10. You had 3 left tackles go in the first 9 picks, and I was really hoping that Kelvin Banks would fall to 10. Had he, maybe that's who the Bears would have ended up drafting. I know he had a really solid preseason. Then you look at Josh Simmons, who the Bears just faced, against the Chiefs. He falls all the way to 31 because of his injury, and he looks really good. And Ursery, is somebody the Bears could have had in the second round. I guess he looks really good as well. So it's annoying because they have done such positive things to upgrade the interior of the offensive line, and that's important. They've invested a lot of money with those 3 positions. But the fact that they're still trying to figure out this left tackle spot is concerning, and it's frustrating. And I'm sure Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles are just as frustrated. I guess the encouraging part about it is that they're not just handing it to anyone. They, even to this point, we're not ready to announce a starter. Somebody's still got to earn it. And then when the season starts, they're going to have to continue to earn it. And that's the one thing about this coaching staff that you got to love is they're not handing this to anyone. They're going to let competition, win out, but it will be interesting when you talk about guys on the waiver wire, if they even look there, because right now you got 4 left tackles. It means you got no left tackles, really.
Right.
I mean, just being respectful to it. It's the truth. until somebody goes out and takes this job.
It is funny because when we were doing the Monday night show, the After Dark, and the three families coming together, and you've got Ozzy Trapillo, the Tape Never Lies Network has Karan Amagaji, and I was backing our guy Braxton Jones. Nobody can really take a victory lap at any point right now. I do think, is this sound different, Sammy? The one where Poles was talking specifically about Ozzy Trapillo hitting the rookie wall. Is that different sound? Can we play that real quick?
Up to the coaches. I did like when he moved to the right. I thought he settled in, and it looked very natural. His hand usage, his feet. But it looked like that when he started out at left early. I think he just hit a rookie wall in the middle of camp there where things just kind of got all over the place, and he needed to settle in. And I think going back to watch that KC game, you could see things like slow down a little bit for him and his technique come back, because that was the best part of his game. It was like that dependability. His angles were right, his hands were right. He was in good positions and was very consistent. I think he just got out of whack a little bit midway through camp. So again, just with Dan and Ben and Declan having a great feel, moving them back to kind of home base, got him comfortable, and we'll continue to work on his development.
Do you take that to mean like one of the reasons they haven't really announced somebody is that they're giving Ozzy a few more days to kind of go out there and cement himself or take over the job?
No, I mean, I think they're just trying to make sure that they don't ruin his development by overloading his plate when they have other options there. They made a high investment in him as a second-round pick. He's not ready to be a left tackle right away. He hits a rookie wall halfway through camp. I'm surprised by that, but from my untrained eye from the stands, I can't tell you that he hit a rookie wall, but they clearly did. And so they're like, all right, let's just get him back to where he's comfortable with. That's why I use the word frustrating, because I'm like, man, you spent a lot of time this summer in OTAs and minicamp and halfway through training camp and a preseason game, getting him the majority of the left tackle reps. Because remember, Braxton wasn't fully healthy, ready to get first team reps until a week or two into training camp. So Ozzy had gotten most of the looks there. And all I kept hearing was how smart he is and how he's adapting. And so it really felt like he was going to be the front runner to take that job. And then not only to have Braxton kind of take the lead on him, but then for him to be completely pushed out of the race and pushed to the right side, and Theo Benedict coming out of nowhere was surprising to me. So it's I'm frustrated by how much time they lost trying to get him to be the left tackle, and then they've essentially given up to it to this point. And then, to see where this has gone from this point to still not have an answer, it's like, man, but I just think overall they don't want to overwhelm him to ruin his development. I'm just surprised that they're at that point with him, for all the, things we heard about, just how mature he was.
Right. But do you agree with it though? I mean, like, don't you think that is for the best though? Just to make sure that he's right back, as Ryan Pohl said, at his home base.
I'm not going to disagree with it. They know better than me. But I guess I'm just I would have just left him there personally.
Yeah.
They know better. So whatever I'm saying, just forget it. But personally, I'd have left him there. You got Joe Tooney right next to you. If we're talking about Braxton Jones, if you want to put Theo Benedict, then put Theo Benedict there. If he's solid but not great. But all I know is with Braxton, there's just he already had a bad anchor. He already was a flawed left tackle before the injury. Now he's back from injury. You can see one leg is like skinnier than the other. Is he even fully healthy to be the left tackle? Then you see him playing these preseason games, and in each one he gets blown by on the inside, every single one. And so I don't necessarily know if he won that job. Clearly he didn't, because the coaching staff won't announce it right now.
Right.
So I don't know. Ozzy's a mountain of a man. Like, I would have just left him there and let him fight his way through it. But I think from this coaching staff's perspective, they thought, like, as much as they're throwing the kitchen sink and at Caleb Williams and letting him go in the deep end and see what he can handle, they didn't want to do that same approach with Ozzy Trapillo. And so I'm going to trust the coaching staff knows a lot more about it than me. But it would be interesting, Adam, if you had to rank
Yeah.
Like what are their options? So option 1 is Braxton. Option 2, if that doesn't work, like each break glass in case of emergency. So option 1 is Braxton. Option 2 is Theo Benedict. Is option 3 Ozzie Trapillo, or is option 3 move Darnell Wright to left tackle and Ozzie Trapillo be your right tackle? You know, and then is option 4 then Karan Amagaji, or is option 4 Joe Tooney moves to left tackle and then they have Luke Newman play left guard? You know, like that. It'd be interesting to know where their ranking list is on what they're going to do if things don't work the way they wanted in these first 4 weeks.
Yeah. What is the DEFCON level for each thing? I prefer that you just go with the safest floor. It's just one of those things where, like, I know that some players have a higher ceiling and you can project out like this is the higher ceiling. But I think when it comes to left tackle, with as much resources that you have put into the interior, and of course, put that pick with Darnell Wright, you've done so much. Go with the highest floor, even if it has the lowest ceiling. The highest floor to me needs to be the one who plays. And that's just something that I take from fantasy football as well. And speaking of this, you can win your fantasy league or you can own it. Too many fantasy champs walk away with a plastic trophy and a sad little group chat. GG. That ain't it. Telling you right now, this is Crown Champs, baby. Custom championship crowns, rings, scepters, robes. You don't just win, you rule your league. And sure, your buddy's hosting a draft at Applebee's again. Meanwhile, Crown Champs is throwing draft parties on party buses, rooftops, and even freaking yachts. Yes, fantasy football just got royal. Go to crownchampscompany.com. That's crownchampscompany.com to go check this out for $2.99. You can go out there, get into their program. I mean, that's the same price. That's cheaper than an appetizer at Applebee's. Go out there, get into it, win some gear, do that stuff, get a crown, be proud, crowned champs. Are there any comments that we should fly in here, Sammy? What are we thinking? What are we looking at? I saw a couple that are starred. The Dirty Dog. Braxton is going to be okay, I think. Did a decent job versus Chris Jones in the KC game and hasn't had the opportunity to play next to Tooney in an actual game. You know, that's a pretty good it's a good observation from the Double D. Do you think that kind of factors in? You mentioned this too when you're talking about Karan Amagaji or Ozzie Trapillo. Playing against Joe Tooney will make you a lot better. Do you think that Braxton Jones should be given that benefit of the doubt as well?
Yeah, I mean, anybody playing next to Joe Tooney, it's going to help them. So I agree with that. And as long as Ben Johnson said, slow down from losing too fast. And that's the biggest thing with Braxton. Don't lose too fast. If you're going to lose, you're going to lose a rep. Everyone gets beat in this league, but you got to find a way to not lose too fast. And that means not letting yourself get beat on the inside. And that's what's happened here multiple times here in this preseason. Well, if somebody's getting, trying to find an angle on the inside, the guy on the inside next to him is Joe Tooney. So but then you're asking Joe Tooney to, do a lot there. And they are paying him well and they brought him here for a reason. So, I do think that he has the veteran wherewithal to understand, that feel of the game. But, as Dirty Dog pointed out, they haven't played next to each other in a live game yet to really have that feel of kind of knowing, okay, hey, Braxton, just kind of always, helping the guy next to you, like covering up other people's mistakes. Ben talks about that all the time. Like good teams, good players cover up when somebody else doesn't do something right. There's always going to be something that goes wrong on a play, but good players on a team cover those things up. And can Joe Tooney be that kind of guy?
No, I agree with you. And I think that once we get an opportunity to see the full thing, that's why I wish, we would see a little bit more of the starters in preseason. I know that everybody sits there and they're like, we don't want anybody to get hurt or anything like that. But I think back, I was using this example. I forget which show I was on, one of the 90 shows that I do, where we were talking about like, hey, you don't want anybody to get hurt in preseason. And I'm like, well, 2 years ago, Aaron Rodgers got hurt in the fourth play of the game, for the New York Jets. And was everybody being like, well, at least it's not preseason. I'm totally cool with this. I don't care that Aaron Rodgers got hurt because it's during the, no, like losing a player is losing a player. But I think that the long-term benefit of going out there and really trying to figure out who your offensive line, I like, sorry, Joe Tooney, you got to go out there and play. It's kind of like, when you're reading for a role back when actors go up for roles or whatever, like you got to go out and read with the person that you're casting with. One of the reasons why the guy who played Jim Halpert won the role is because the chemistry that he had with Jenna Fisher. And similarly, we should be trying to find the guy who plays the best with Joe Tooney, because that is going to be the most important thing. And that is going to be the best for the long-term success. Speaking of long-term success, I don't think that you and I
have you auditioned for any roles that we should know of in your day?
I have, and I don't want to say it because
you don't want to say. Come on, give us something.
Years ago, well, this is the thing: years ago, I was approached by a production company, and they're like, "Hey, Ashton Kutcher is a fan of yours, and he's doing this reality TV show that it's going to be playing practical jokes on people. And if you have some stuff that you want to try out for," I didn't get very far in the process or anything like that, but still was in the mix. And then you think about the people who came out of Punk'd, where it was BJ Novak. It was the other guy, the guy who's married to Kristen Bell, Dax Shepard.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, God, I don't know. Would I have starred in Chips?
You would have been great for that. You would have been great.
I would have been great in Punk'd. I wouldn't have been great at anything else. Like, I wouldn't have been able. I don't think I was watching The Office because one of my friends called me out on that. They're like, what do you think you would have been, Jim? I'm like, of course not. Like, I'm not Jim. But I could have been one of the warehouse guys. I don't know if I could have been Roy. I don't know if I'm tall enough to be Roy because the actor who plays Jim seems tall. And I can't even think of his name right now. Oh, what's wrong with me? Let's go to Frank's comment here real quick. I'm trying to get off this conversation. Frank,
I know I put you on the spot. I'm sorry.
I personally think it's too much. I'm gonna cry about it all night. Listen, I've done pretty well. I think I'm good. I think everything worked out well for me. I'm okay. I'm on CHGO on Monday nights. What would the office money have done for me that being on CHGO After Dark hasn't? So Frank is saying Edge, LT, and RB1 is going to be addressed in the draft next year. RBs. Honestly, I think we're good at running back. I think that people have been dismissive of DeAndre Swift way too much. But I do think that as much as you want to see an edge and a left tackle being drafted, we're going to draft a wide receiver next year, right? First round wide receiver.
Yeah. Ben just again, like from the movie Miracle, right? Just keep hitting the wide receiver button again and again. No, I would say, everybody's looking at Jeremiah Love, the running back from Notre Dame. Notre Dame plays Miami on Sunday night, and he certainly had a great run last year to the national championship game, leading Notre Dame. He's going to go very high, and I know Bears fans are going to have their eye on them. But, yes, it would be nice if the Bears could look at left tackle in the first round next year. I know.
Right, yeah. Take a gander. At least look at somebody. Bishop23 just said Swift is going to have a career year. Take it to the rank. I'm going to do that on Friday on the NFL Fantasy Live show. I'm going to bring that up. Motor City Michael. They are not going to re-sign Swift and draft Jeremiah Love with an exclamation point. I agree with that as well. I do think that, or I don't think that, I agree with the career year part of it. I don't know if we're going to get Jeremiah Love. Plus, by the way, you got to remember these draft things change so much from time to time. Like like the guys who are number one in the draft right now, early on, sometimes don't get talked about as the season goes on and all that good stuff. By the way, speaking of games, Monday night, a week from Monday, the Bears will be kicking off against the Minnesota Vikings to open up the season. And I want to know, where is your next game day spot going to be? Listen, if you're a real Chicago sports fan, I'm talking about Bears, Bulls, Hawks, Cubs, Sox. You need to be watching the games at Twisted Shamrock. The place lives for game day. They've got monster TVs in the private party room, main bar, and outside on their stellar patio. It is patio season in Chicago right now, I think. They have rowdy fans, bucket specials, and our fan favorite, the old-fashioned swing by Twisted Shamrock, where Chicago sports come together. And the next time I'm in Chicago, trying to make the plans to figure out what I'm going to get out this season, I have decided, and it'll probably be after November, I'm going to be hitting up one of those games. I got to go. I got to make sure that I'm at a game late in the season. I'm going to fly into Midway. I'm going to take, I think you can walk to Twisted Shamrock. I usually Uber. I'll have somebody pick me up. Go to Twisted Shamrock.
I'll pick you up. I just don't like that you're waiting till December. If you come earlier, we can golf. I mean, that's why you were supposed to come during training camp. We were supposed to get 18 holes in, but yeah, for sure.
I don't get to play a lot right now because with the after hour that I do, with the NFL Network stuff kicking up, and again, the kids' soccer, like that was like I would normally play 4 days a week during the summer, but if I was out there training, but I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't have traded it for a second. Loved every second of it. One of my girls showed up to the first day of school today, and she was wearing her Team Fearless kit to school, and I'm like, you know what, that's really cool. And she's gone up to another level and doing great things. I'm like, oh, she's still representing Team Fearless. So I love that. Motor City Michael asked, are you going to go to Vegas Game Rank? Planning on it. Yeah, planning on it, planning to get to that one. I'm debating too. I got to see what my schedule is, because if it's a non-studio day for me on the NFL Fantasy Live, I will stay over Sunday night, do all my stuff from Vegas on Monday, then fly home on Monday night, get back in time to do all the training and all this stuff. And Apostle is saying, apparently I got to stop flying into O'Hare and into Midway. Yeah, stop going, unless you're going to Arlington Heights, unless you're going directly, something that requires you to be in Schaumburg or Hoffman Estates or something. Like Midway is way better, because plus, you know what? You never know what's going to happen at Midway. Like there are so many times where you're like, the pilot comes in and was like, nope, too steep, and then has to bounce up and fly over the lake again. You're like, son of a gun. I can't tell you the last time that I've flown into Midway and we hit the runway the first time. It's uncanny. In these closing minutes, though, I want to sit here. I don't think that you and I got an opportunity to really dive into this, and because I think we keep missing each other. Everything with Caleb Williams. You know, I understand that there was a bad coverage sack and there were some things, but I'm like, I don't know. And I'm always the optimistic sort. I came away from that Kansas City Chiefs game, and I know Tyson Bagent came in and played well at the end. I felt pretty good. I mean, I know, like Caleb, to me, I'm not expecting Caleb to be perfect every time he goes out there. So maybe I'm willing to give him grace when things don't necessarily go well for him. What is your feeling on Caleb right now? Where do you stand? What's your optimism level? Shoot me straight. I know you've been trying to keep it real this whole summer. How are you feeling about Caleb Williams?
Well, I think I kind of feel the same way about this preseason and training camp as I did for the entirety of last season. And that's, I think Caleb Williams has raised the level of expectations in this city for what good quarterback play is. Because we used to get excited over a quarterback that threw for 3,500 yards and 20 touchdowns and
like that's a career year. Like that's such a great season that nobody really seems to care about.
For a Bears quarterback standard, for what we are used to in the city, that would be defined as a good year. And now all of a sudden, that's not good enough. And when you look at training camp and preseason this year with what Caleb Williams and the offense was able to do, they made plays, obviously, versus the Bills. They had the really nice drive for the touchdown. And then the Chiefs do what the Chiefs do. They've been a great team, a Super Bowl winning team for the last 5 years, and they really humbled the Bears on the first couple drives. But then the Bears responded and had a 11-play, 12-play drive, 60-plus yards for a field goal, and then they finished the half with a touchdown to Rome Odunze, a few nice plays to get up the field in a 2-minute drill against the Chiefs' second-string team. We understand this. But at the end of the day, when you look at what Caleb Williams did against the Chiefs, 11 of 15, took a sack, had a throwaway, had a touchdown, got in the red zone twice, stood in the pocket more than a handful of times, delivered a pass to Zacchaeus, delivered a pass under pressure to DJ Moore, delivered a nice ball downfield to Rome Odunze as he's getting cracked in the face. And those used to be the things that we would earmark and say, hey, that's really encouraging by our quarterback. And now the new standard here in Chicago is that that's not good enough. And so it just, to me, I think it's what side of the coin are you on as a Bears fan? Forget what Jason McIntyre is saying on Colin Cowherd's show. Forget what any of these national pundits, Chris Canty or anybody saying. For you as a Bears fan, where is your level of expectation? What is your bar of your standard? Because if it means it's now raised to what Caleb has done so far as a Bear, that's not good enough, then that should be encouraging to you. That should be encouraging to you that this guy has done some things that most quarterbacks haven't been able to do in the city, and it's still not good enough. And so to me, that shows you that there is a higher ceiling at stake here that we've never been able to touch. And so, but if you're one of these guys that's like, he's the number one pick, and I knew he was going to be a bust, and we should have kept Justin, or however you want to paint it, whatever person you want to, put yourself as, and then you're judging so harshly that you can't look at the positives, then that's the other side of the coin. So to me, I think Caleb's presence here as the number one pick and a guy that had a lot of hype coming out of college, I think he's raised the level of expectation that we've had in the city for quarterback play. We've never seen good quarterback play. And so now we're demanding it from a guy that I think has the potential to get there and has shown signs that he has the ability, but still has more room to improve.
Yeah, that's well said. And the thing that's the most frustrating is that you get these guys on the hot take shows and they're talking about Caleb Williams and they're comparing him to Johnny Manziel. They're comparing him to Anthony Richardson when his numbers were pretty similar to Jaden Daniels. And again, I know if ifs and nuts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. He had beaten Jaden Daniels. He had done everything in his power to beat Jaden Daniels head to head. And if it were not for a defensive malfunction, which ended up being the best thing that could have happened to this team, he would have been 1-0 against Jaden Daniels. He would have been 1-1. He should have been 2-0 against Jordan Love. And again, I think everybody just seems to forget that. He threw for 3,500 yards with Shane Waldron and everything that was going on last season, but somehow he's going to regress with Ben Johnson. That to me is one of the most hilarious narratives that we're getting out of the Bears, that people are, and I know they're just trying to stir stuff up. They're sitting there, but you know what? Bears fans are not helping themselves by going up and promoting Tyson Bagent. They're like, oh, look at what Caleb's doing against backups. And you're like, okay, well, Tyson Bagent's playing against third stringers. And you guys think that he's going up against the 2000 Ravens. Enough is enough. Like I don't want to be this person that's like, support your team through thick and fan how you want to fan. I'm going to choose to back our guy. I think Caleb's coming along just nicely. And you know what? There were a couple of rough plays in that game against the Kansas City Chiefs, but you know what? Nobody is under a microscope more than Caleb Williams, when in actuality, I think most of the, and it's funny too, because I think most of the pressure is on Jaden Daniels, because they're already saying that Jaden Daniels should be an MVP candidate, and anything short of what we saw last year would end up being a failure for them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think Jaden will continue to have a solid year. I think Jaden Daniels is a very good quarterback, but sure. I think he's got the right temperament and everything. And that's the biggest thing is Caleb, how is he going to respond to adversity? Because last year at times it wasn't great, even though he was able to lead some comebacks at the end of games. That was a big thing for this coaching staff, was how he could just bounce back for the next play. And that's what I'm talking about with the Chiefs game and why that game was so important and how encouraging it was to watch Ben Johnson let him play through that whole first half. There was a lot of adversity in that first quarter. And if you actually go back and watch it and see the way that they were able to respond on that field goal drive on the 12 plays, and you look at the way they got a little more physical, and they threw some nice passes, where you see him going through his progressions and really trying to fight back from getting smacked in the mouth by the best team in the NFL. So to me, that is an encouraging sign. And then they were able to finish the half strong. So, I'm not going to oversell anything. I'm trying to get you guys to understand that I think they are on the right track. And if they get to the first game and it isn't pretty, it's not going to surprise me. But I also think that there's a higher end potential that maybe some are selling short because all they want to focus on are the things that aren't going right. And I just think there are a lot of things that are progressing well, but it is just, I think, our nature as fans and media to focus on how the left tackle's position isn't solved, to focus on the pre-snap penalties, to focus on that Caleb hasn't done what, Jaden Daniels has done yet. And I don't think any of those things matter. And I just think what matters is that they've got the right coach in their corner. And I think Ben Johnson's going to put him in the best position to be successful. And so there's to me, I'm looking forward to week 1 as much as Brian Flores is certainly going to test this team.
Now, I agree with that 100%. Well stated, Greg Braggs. And by the way, to catch more of Greg Braggs, be sure to check out CHGO. I'm sure at some point this evening, he's going to jump on Twitter, host a space or do something like that, because he can't help himself. He's still got more opinions to get out there, and that's why we love you. Want to thank you so much for that. Is there an after hour on Monday?
I do not believe we're going to have an after dark on Monday because of the holiday. So the next after dark will be Tuesday night, September 9th, after the Bears play the Vikings. So that's exciting. I believe that's the next one. I'll have to check with our people to make sure, but I'm pretty sure that's going to be the schedule for next week. So it's exciting, man. We are finally there. We are finally there.
No more preseason games.
I assumed you missed on Monday because of my tweet about the Cubs Angels.
There was nothing about that. I know that was bad timing.
You were mad at me about the Cubs.
That was bad. That was very bad timing, because I was like, oh crap, he's gonna think I'm upset because he tweeted at me. Because honestly, didn't care enough. There's times where, because my son was upset, and he's like, oh my God, we're losing to the Cubs. And I'm like, well, at least the Cubs are playing for something. He's like, are we Cubs fans? I'm like, we're not, because we don't suffer with them. That we watch them casually, and when they're doing well, we're like, oh, that's awesome. And when they're not playing well, we're like, well, I don't care. But we want them to do well. But we're not invested, so we can't call ourselves fans. But if this helps out the Cubs make the postseason, then so be it. Our sacrifice.
We need every little bit of help we can get, because
our managers struggling right now. Yeah, you're good. Well, play the Angels. You're going to be, unless you're the Dodgers, that's the only team they show up for. Otherwise, you're in pretty good shape. But listen, got to cut this short. Got so much stuff myself personally. Got to go out there. Got soccer. Got my first night of school at Chapman University. Tons of stuff going on. Want to thank everybody for being here, and especially for Greg for coming in and doing this. As his star is on the rise and mine's going down. Braggs is still here.
Stop it.
Hey, we appreciate you. Listen, we'll see you next week. We'll see you soon. Goodbye, everybody. For Greg, I'm Adam. Sammy, go ahead and play us out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.